Hey everybody, welcome back to Evolved Equine Partnership. If you're new to my channel, I am Brooke and welcome. Today's video is going to be about working through saddling problems with Spirit. As some of you might know, I was doing a series that was working through saddling problems with Spirit, but I decided to stop doing that and just instead put all the clips together at the end once the saddling problem was fixed, and then I could really explain everything. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I hope you guys all enjoy. It usually seemed as if Spirit wanted nothing to do with the saddle pad or the saddle. She wanted to leave the situation anytime the saddle was brought out and presented to her as if I was going to throw it on her. She was really just showing me signs that she wanted nothing to do with that saddle, and that saddle clearly didn't make her feel safe. I turned her loose and tried to approach her with the saddle. She pinned her ears and shook her head, giving me a clear sign that she didn't feel safe and she was not okay with the saddle. My main goal was to really make her feel safe being around the saddle and really help her to trust the saddle. So what I did was I just hung out with her holding the saddle, and luckily I have a light saddle so it wasn't too heavy, but I just hung out with her with the saddle. I let her sniff it, I let her lick it, and then when she asked me to back out of her space, I did acknowledge that and listen to it. And then she was a little bit upset, so she went over and pinned her ears at poor little innocent Missy. There were times when I felt a bit discouraged, and I really wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing because I'm not a professional and I don't work with a professional, so it was hard for me to know if I was doing the right or wrong thing, but I just trusted my intuition, trusted Spirit, and kind of kept going with it. A couple times I doubted myself because I wasn't really seeing any progress or as much progress as I wanted to see, but I just kept reminding myself that trust is everything. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything. So I really needed Spirit to trust the saddle, no matter how long that took. It took a little bit of time, but eventually Spirit started to feel safer around the saddle and come to me and kind of just hang out around me while I was holding the saddle. And this really made me happy because she was starting to feel safe and content and realized that the saddle wasn't a threat. She was doing a lot of releasing when she was around the saddle. She was dropping her head, she was licking and chewing, and she was yawning. Eventually, I was just able to throw the saddle up there, and she was at liberty at this point. She had complete control over the situation to walk away if she wanted to, but she stood there and trusted me and trusted the saddle. I was really happy how well she did this session. She was licking and chewing, and then she was sniffing the saddle. This next session, me and Spirit made a lot of progress. This was probably about our 7th session, I think. This was the first time I was going to be using cookies with her working through the saddling problems. I wasn't using cookies before because I wanted her to actually accept and trust the saddle and not only do it for the cookie. Spirit is extremely food motivated, so I am careful with how many cookies I give her. I was so happy with how calm she seemed, and I was so happy to see her yawning. I was just really making sure to give her a moment to process everything, and then I was able to walk right up to her and put the saddle on her, and she was at liberty. So she could have walked away if she wanted to, but I was so happy that she stood there and allowed me to put the saddle on her. I did give her a cookie because I was so happy and so pleased with how well she did, and I feel like she has enough trust now that using a couple cookies is alright. I continued working with her and throwing the saddle on a couple more times. You can see she is smelling the cookies there, and I just kept working with her on walking up to her and saddling her and having her nice and calm and standing well for me. I was so pleased with how well she was doing. I was making sure to keep my energy calm and just really have intentions of just saddling her and pulling the saddle off and just helping her trust that saddle a little bit more. I believe in whatever you do on one side, you should do on the other, so I went ahead and saddled her on the right side. Please don't judge my saddle throwing skills from this side. They are not at their best because I don't typically saddle from the right side. I do mostly saddle from the left side, but it's always good to have that skill of being able to do things on both sides of the horse. Now here you can see I went to throw the saddle and her body language changed and she decided to walk off. I kind of just stayed at her side here, and then I asked her to back up. I was a little bit unsure of what to do here because she was telling me that she wasn't wanting the saddle on her, and so I wasn't really sure of what to do here, but I followed my intuition in backing her up and then trying to throw the saddle on again. I decided to saddle Spirit again from the right side, and let me know what side you saddle your horse from and if the opposite side is hard for you, because this was a struggle. Spirit's only about 16.3 and this saddle is fairly light. I've saddled taller horses with heavier saddles, but from the left side that I'm comfortable with, so this was a little bit of a struggle. I'm pretty sure this was a couple weeks later. I brought Spirit's saddle pad out and I put it on her, and she did really well with that. And she was just lightly looped around the fence. She wasn't hard tied or anything. And you can see that as soon as I came out of the tack room with her saddle, she turned away and she walked away. She was wanting to leave the situation because she wasn't feeling safe. And of course, nosy little Missy comes wandering over. I grabbed Spirit before she pulled her whole lead rope off the fence, and I kind of just stood there with her, and I was a little bit discouraged, but I knew that I had to keep going. I brought Spirit back over to the fence, and I knew that I was going to try and saddle her again, nice and calmly, without her wanting to leave the situation. I grabbed her saddle off the fence and I walked over to her, and I was just spending some time petting her and allowing her to smell the saddle and just kind of be around the saddle without feeling like she had to leave. I realized that going really slow with Spirit and allowing her to trust the saddle before throwing it onto her made all the difference in the world. I learned a lot of different things through this process, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. There are definitely some things that I would do differently next time, but overall I'm happy with how everything worked out. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please let me know. See you next time. Bye!